Welcome back, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. Today we're looking at the new Motiv Sky Raptor. If you like what we do, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and check us out on Patreon. First impressions, I'm happy to report that the Motiv Sky Raptor fits right where Motiv says it fits in his ball guide, which is really important. So let's see if we can get right to the point with the Sky Raptor. The Affliction core is a big symmetric core. It is dominant in that it flares and wants to right itself. Regardless of the symmetry, it is very strong. Motiv wraps it with a new cover called Dynamic Infusion Pearl, and I would say it's a pretty big step up from the Infusion formulation in that it has a lot more teeth. Despite having that shiny looking 5000 LSS finish, the thing is not only responsive but wants to roll quickly. This reaction very clearly fits in the top line angular part of the ball guide. And if you follow my arsenal building, it's clearly in the mid-defined category. You could say that, maybe steps on the toes of the Mythic Jackal. The Dynamic Infusion cover on the Sky Raptor has a bigger footprint, so it almost looks like the reaction of a shiny solid. Like, it has grip, but you get some length from the cover stock finish when it would, otherwise hook too soon if you had surface. The other thing, though, is that it is still quick responding. For sure, one of the quicker responses that we've seen from Motiv, which creates strong angle. Now add that big core, and I kind of felt like I had some over-under on this particular medium to lighter house pattern volume. The heavy core sometimes would roll out and leave a flat corner, but still also overreacts from the outside friction. You can throw it fast and direct and get that big hit but with my normal release, I would say, I felt a little in between in that third arrow zone. All that stuff I mentioned earlier, which ultimately meant I needed to get a touch deeper. And really, the more ideal situation was for this, for the Sky Raptor, is more volume and not having to open up the angles as much. The big core bleeds a touch too much energy for huge side-to-side motion. The bottom line is this ball really will be better suited to just more volume overall. Now, doing a little comparison, you can immediately see the difference between the Sky Raptor and the Iron Forge. And even while the Iron Forge also has the huge detonator core, which isn't much different spec-wise from the Affliction, the Dynamic Infusion cover is way stronger and more responsive to friction than the Infusion. So there is no doubt the Sky Raptor fits in mid-define while the Iron Forge is mid-lane. That was something I was a little concerned about, getting some overlap between Sky Raptor, Iron Forge, and maybe the Pride Empire. Alright, so here is a look with Tyler. He's our power player, and you'll see that the Sky Raptor looked great for him. I mean, yes, the ball has essentially the same characteristics. It's a strong, heavy rolling, yet very responsive ball. But it even looks more hook set for Tyler. The fronts and mids seem to matter very little, right? You just need to get to the spot, and it was like sideways. When we talk about balls having 3 stages, skid, hook, and roll, this ball looked like it was simply 2 stages, skid and flip. So kind of the epitome of that, more or less. So the hook stage was very aggressive, very quick. The ball looked to, have a very clear hook set. I think I've said that now, but man, did it look good. He got matched up and lined up pretty quickly and was able to get in relatively deep before it finally ran out of steam. So you could still see the sort of heavy roll of that big core. I know the logos can sometimes trick the eye to make it look like a little heavier, almost not lopey, but just a heavy rolly look. But you can really visualize that heavy roll from that tumbly core. In terms of miss room, missing out was forgiving until he was too deep, and missing in just never really did seem to hold. Just seemed a bit too strong, and I said this for this ball, it'd be great to have more volume. Then a quick look at the Iron Forge, and just like for me, definitely got a cleaner, let's say a slightly slower response or a more rounded, delayed response. He had to square up a bit more to find a good shot, but that again validates that the Sky Raptor is clearly a mid-to-fine ball, while the Iron Forge is well downstream in the mid-late category. And now we have Brian. He's also looking at the Sky Raptor here, and historically, we've tested many big mid-to-fine balls, which are typically, shiny asymmetric balls, although not always. In many cases, I would say a ball that fits right in, that mid-to-fine category. While for Brian, these balls tended to need a little more oil, so pushing him in, but then the hook set nature didn't allow the ball to return with authority, leading to lower carry. And given that Tyler and I have clearly placed the Sky Raptor in the mid-to-fine, there was little anxiety and interest to see if it'll debunk the history of these type of balls for him. And well, wouldn't you know it, Brian got lined up quickly and could strike for days from that spot. You can very clearly see the hook set nature again. I mean, the ball is what it is. It does what it does for every bowler. It goes and then quickly responds and turns over. So this lane seemed to have the perfect volume and pattern blend for a great matchup for Brian. The ball set just right and just drove very strongly through the pins, very little deflection. Now the challenge of moving in still existed with this type of ball. As Brian started moving in, it pretty quickly lost motion, so now it would set but a little less entry angle, causing deflection and that reduced carry. So looking at the Iron Forge quickly, it's definitely rounder and a little later. I think that rounder shape probably means possibly a bit more usability, but on lower volumes. Alright, my final thoughts. The Motiv Sky Raptor is probably the quickest responding Pearl ball from them to date, at least in our hands. It's got a big rolly core that seems to turn over hard as well. So bottom line, this is clearly a mid-to-fine ball in the bag. Get it on the right volume and I think it'll look great. If you force it on the wrong condition, I think you'll be in for some over-under. Its sharpness may wind up limiting its use case as well. So hopefully we armed you with enough information to decide if you'll give the Sky Raptor a shot.